I'm Jamie Carragher, and you are listening to the Pint Podcast.
Welcome back to the Pint Podcast. It's Kristian Andersson together with Mick Moran as usual, and we're going to talk a little bit about the derby, Everton, and what went on there. Then we're going to talk about Wolves, where we won back at Anfield, and looking forward to Aston Villa playing tomorrow night, Wednesday. This is Tuesday when we're recording this. So how are we, Mick?
Yeah, all good, lads. Yeah, good. It's been a bit of a mad week, hasn't it? With obviously we talked about Plymouth and stuff, and then going into Everton, and then getting a win against Wolves and all that, going into Villa. But yeah, I mean, obviously we're going to get into Wolves, and it was obviously a massive, huge win after the previous two games I just mentioned. But glad to get back on the winning track and all that stuff after them two games. But yeah, all good, lads. How about you?
Yeah, I'm good. Obviously, the derby took loads of energy out of us both, I guess, and all the supporters, I guess, the way the game went. So I'm thinking we're just going to start there because, in my opinion, it kind of affected how we played, especially second half against Wolves. So I want to just start with the derby because you and me haven't been able to talk about that game. I know you've done that, in different pods and with other guests and stuff. But I think that it's good that we just get it, done with just a couple of minutes. But obviously, the last derby at Goodison Park, we knew all the emotions going into that game and what it meant for them. Virgil van Dijk called it their cup final after the game, which we already called it before that. But I guess, looking into the game and the players that we put on the field, the way the whole game went with, referee decisions, weird kind of decisions as well. And, how we were sloppy when conceding goals when they scored and stuff. It's just one of them where in the end, I think, yes, we could have won it, the way that it ended, but it just felt like it's just one of them games where they happen sometimes. And afterwards, when you had time to just process it a little bit, you think like, okay, it was a draw, probably a fair result in the end, to be honest. It's just annoying that we couldn't get away with 3 points when we know how important but how did you feel overall, the whole game in itself, the way it actually obviously was looking at ahead of it and how it ended and, all the talks afterwards?
Yeah, I think like you just said, we didn't deserve to win. I think that's the main takeaway from it. I think I was due to do the pod on a pint with Dan from Redmen like the day after, but I'm kind of glad it didn't really materialise because I was still a bit sour towards how it happened. But yeah, we didn't deserve to win. I think that's kind of most sane people online have been saying that kind of thing where Everton had some good chances. I think Slot said that after the game we had 2.5 chances and we scored 2. And obviously it's just the way they scored. It felt like a defeat and a win for them. That's just the way it felt because of the circumstances of the game and Moyes back last game at Goodison, last derby and all that stuff. So all that mixed in and them getting a point after it looked destined like they were going to lose it. Of course, they celebrated it as though they'd won everything, but you can't. At first, I was a bit like pissed off with that because like you're fuming, aren't you, with the game? But it's like you can't begrudge them that you've got to like they're celebrating it. They're going to celebrate, of course. They are like their local rivals and all that, so they're going to be absolutely made up if they manage to steal any points off us, and they did. So, but yeah, you've just got to move forward, haven't you? It's one of them. You crack on, and especially after the Plymouth game, we said in the Everton preview, like we were saying, oh, obviously we want to win, but in my mind, I kept coming back to it's just a must not lose. Like it's one of them that just don't lose it. At least get a point on the board because it was the game in hand and all that stuff. So people were like, oh, it's going to be 9 points, and we were all hoping it was going to be, but 7 points is at least better than 6. Do you know what I mean? So that's one of the things that you've got to look at it in that perspective. Unfortunately, as much as we wanted to beat them, but yeah, and then going into Wolves, you've got to build on that, and that's something you just said before, like with Slot saying in his presser earlier that we were maybe a bit tired mentally from how that kind of ended, and a bit worried maybe that we'd make the same mistakes as well. But I think now that I can look back on it, it's one of them that you just go, yeah, it was a deserved draw, really. But it was just circumstances that were a bit of a killer. But you've just got to take it and crack on in a season like this, where Slot's first season and we're going for, Premier League, Champions League and a cup final in a couple of weeks. It's absolutely huge, especially with the games coming up as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think you're looking at the game, they scored quite early, and it's a situation where, you look at the referees, decisions, and throughout the game, it wasn't great. But that's just one where we also look very sloppy in the way we defend. We kind of let them just go through playing their kind of free kick, something they've been training on at the training ground, I guess, and they score. But, luckily we get back quite quickly, and then it's a game where, it's a typical derby, and then obviously Salah score closer to the end, and we all there is thinking that we're going to win this, and then they obviously get their moment. I would never want to give them anything because it's Everton, but like you said, I think it was a fair result in the end because of how it turned out, and we could have won the last derby at Goodison. Now they got a draw. They celebrated that like they won everything. Like you said, we got 1 point from it, and we could move. I think it's one of them games that will become obviously a little bit legendary because it was the last game, the derby game there. But it's just one of them where you won't look back and think much of it, more as a point that you gained. Well, depending on what happens, obviously at the later stage of the season. But
if we win the league,
exactly. But it's an important point, and it's just one of them games, like you said, get through it, don't lose it. We were on the verge of winning it, which would have been amazing. But at the end of the day, it's one of them where just like, all right, just let's move on. And obviously, we can just, I think, kind of skip what happened after, Slot got a red card. There's a process there. We'll see what happens. Obviously, he was at the sideline against Wolves. We'll see what happens now going forward. But anyway, we played Wolverhampton during the weekend, and we started off. The first half was good. It was not great, but it was good enough to show that we were playing at home again. I think we got in control quite quickly. We had some great spells where we played great, but we weren't perfectly great as we've been used to see. But we obviously scoring early and scoring goals made us more satisfied and secure from a supporter perspective, I guess, where we felt like, as you and me were chatting just at the start of the game, just get this first goal, quite early, and we can be more settled into the game. We don't have to stress. We don't have to cramp up because we haven't scored, and, we get into the second half and all that. So from scoring that first goal and just feeling like, yes, we got that, I felt very safe that this was going to be a walk in the park. How about you?
Yeah, I think I texted you just before the game kicked off and just said, first goal within the first 15 will be all right. And Jota bangs in. I said he bangs in. He falls on the ball and it goes in on the 15th minute. And you're like, perfect, there we go. Sorted, lads, now we crack on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can then throw in the Salah goal, which, so people talk about, is it a penalty or not? And we'll get into the Jota one, I'm sure, in a bit. But it's definitely a penalty, and it's a 2-goal lead, which again, cliche is a dangerous scoreline, because if they get the next goal is then massive, and if Wolves get a 2-1 going into the last 20 minutes, it's difficult. But not getting the third is always a killer in a game like this, where there was a bit of nerves, and Robbo said it after the game, and Van Dijk kind of got asked about it as well and said, well, he didn't really think it was nerves in the same way that Robbo might have, but there definitely was nerves. There was nerves in the ground. There was nerves on the pitch, especially. And like you said, after what happened against Everton, we didn't want it to happen again. But getting that goal early at least just kind of it helps you forget about the previous game a little bit, because you can go, right, we've got an early one here and we can build on it. Then you do get the second one. Then having that little bit of cushion, you then want it to lead into other things, into other goals, because 3-0 is it's game over pretty much. If it's 3-0. We could have just sealed it. But yeah, to go 2-0 up in the first 37 minutes was perfect. Like you said, we weren't amazing, but we were still getting the ball into positions, and we were still doing good stuff. And they were obviously good on the counter attack with Cunha, who's shown his quality pretty much every week. But yeah, getting those 2 pretty early goals was key to starting this game, which we did.
Yeah, and I can just add, obviously, we went the strongest starting 11 that we could. The only, obviously, change was Jota up front. Instead of, obviously, Gakpo out injured, couldn't play, so Diaz went out to the left and Jota came up front and instead of Nunez. And the others are quite the same, I guess, with Trent coming back as well into the starting 11. So strongest possible lineup. And like you said, 2-0 up. I felt like, this is one of them games where after Derby, you just wanted this kind of game to be that game because you fear that something from the Derby would sneak into the next game and make us feel more, like I said, cramped or, not getting our kind of play at home. It can happen, and that is something that you can fear from a Derby game that turned out the way it did. But then obviously we scored those 2 goals. We're in the lead. I feel quite safe because, Wolverhampton are not bad. They are obviously better on paper when they are in the table, to be honest. I think they have a few really good players. And you can tell that their midfield was causing our midfield a bit of problems, actually, even if our midfield is probably considered one of the best in the league. But then obviously the second half comes into it. And I think, and that's something that Arne Slot also referenced on the press conference, that from the Derby game and going into the second half of this kind of game, you can tell that the players had tired legs and probably tired brains as well, because it's something that is just, I guess, normal when you got so many games in the very short period of time. And at the same time as well, Wolves had like a rest. But in between the games where they played us and the last game, we had 2 games to play. So it's not, I don't think it's any, brain surgeon, thoughts that, if you think about it, we obviously will have some more tired legs in our team and mentally as well after the Derby, because even I felt a little bit mentally drained that the way that the Derby finished, it kind of have the effects on you. So it will affect players as well, even if they are professionals. So I think, the first, like I said, we weren't perfect the first half. We were good enough to do the job. And the second half, I think we were gone a little bit and we invited Wolves back into the game. And obviously, they scored a brilliant goal. And from there on, it was nervous and we felt that we were not in control. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, well, I think the stat that came out was the first time we haven't had a shot on goal in at Anfield since stats began.
Yeah.
Which again says a lot about, I guess, the nervousness that was creeping in and Wolves being dangerous, like the back three with the wing backs and then Cunha and like decent like midfield players who are like very press resistant and good on the ball, can run forward with it, like loads of good quality in there. And again, it's what Slot said pre-game, where he says 17th in the league, Wolves in the Premier League. There's no way you go to the Eredivisie in the 17th team in that league. You're not going to have the quality of players like Wolves have got. So that's what it means in terms of how difficult this league is. And I think I feel like I'm always saying this as well. Like I try to online, like, and not because it's like a big profound point, but like it's Slot's first season. I think it's always like worth factoring in that he's still learning as well. I think in the derby, and then when you look at the Wolves game, he brings on Endo towards the end, and it's like maybe he learned a little lesson from the Everton game that just throw Endo in, because he'll win your free kicks, he'll put his body on the line, he'll do stuff that just win your little free kicks, which he did towards the end against Wolves, which was one of the biggest cheers that went up for that, just to kind of relieve the pressure. But he's willing to throw his body on the line no matter what it takes. And he kind of Slot referenced that again today, saying his mentality is just exemplary, the way he comes in and has an impact. And it's obviously easier for a defensive-minded player to come in and have an impact, because it's not like through balls or either needle passes or scoring 30-yarders. It's just get your body in front of the ball, win your headers, win your tackles, win some interceptions and all that. And that's what he did. So it's worth bearing in mind that Slot's still learning about like his players as well. Like that was the 25th Premier League game for him. So that's like, it's not many really, is it, if you think about it? And the fact that we've still got a 7-point lead at the top is incredible. The fact that it is his first season, this is his first go at like the hardest, supposedly the hardest league in the world and the best league in the world, and he's producing or assemble the side, which is obviously mostly from Klopp's era, but he's assembled it in a different way, where a different style, and he's put a stamp on it, and we're still reaping the rewards that none of us expected. So I think it's worth bearing that in mind, that he's still adapting. He's still figuring out like little bits in game where he could change it. And we know he's good at in-game changes, but those can always be improved upon, and I'm sure he'll be looking at it in terms of the future where. And again, he said it today, like, and there's going to need to be called upon in the future games as well, where we maybe need to see out a lead, where it's going to be maybe a 1-goal win or like a 2-1 win. It's always going to be, it's never going to be like 3 or 4-0 because it's getting towards the end of the season where whoever you're playing, you're either fighting for the title, you're fighting for Europe, you're fighting for getting into the top half, you're fighting for relegation. You know, everyone's fighting for the lives, so it's never going to be easy. But yeah, the fact that second half it was poor, like you said, and not getting even a shot on target or anything like that was a bit mad. But defensive resilience, which I think we've spoke about loads in the past, about not under Slot but under Klopp, where we can kind of be, if we concede one, we'd ordinarily concede two, and like heads might go a little bit and shape would be all over the place. But under Slot, that's different because we're so defensively sound. I think it's a good thing that, in a way, that even if we were playing that bad second half, we still managed to keep a clean sheet. Apart from the last, obviously they scored in the 67th minute, but in that last 20, where I think normal circumstances in the last couple of years under Liverpool, we might have conceded the second one, and then we might have had to go throw the kitchen sink at them and try and get a third. But we were resilient. We conceded the goal, which was it wasn't like a well worked goal where they've like tapped it in. It was just Cunha boss turn and bottom corner with his left foot. It was a worldie as well, so you've got to factor that in as well. But not the best, but the fact that we got over the line is the main thing that you can talk about, performances and not being the best and all that. But getting the win at this stage of the season, that you can't underline or underscore how massive that is.
Yeah, and I think, with the margins as well, the offside that's on the Salah goal, 3-0 there, and I think the game is done. I think we buried that game there then. And it's obviously, on the just smallest little margin, probably offside then, but, it's just one of them where, okay, it didn't go our way there. And then obviously Jota penalty situation. That's not a penalty, obviously, but, one of them goes our way and we put like 3-0, it's done. But instead they score, it's 2-1, and we get nervous. So it's one of them games, like I said, it's very important to get it over the line, because it could have been 3-0 and everyone could have been calmed down a bit. But I think because we had those chances, it was taken off by VAR, obviously, and the offside situation as well, that gave, I guess, Wolverhampton some energy, because they just thought like we got away with it, 2 situations here, which is fine, because that should be that was the right decisions. But they probably gave them a little more energy. And in terms of obviously what we said, our legs were probably going a bit because we played more games and we had the derby and all that. So they started to play football where we just had to get more defensive minded and sat back more. And obviously we didn't attack in the same way, because I think, we were quite knackered. I think, you could tell. So for me as well, like when they got the 2-1, I was starting like fucking like, it's a hard situation when they score in the 67th minute, because it's like in the middle of a half. Yeah. If they're going to score early in the half so we get time to just kill it 3-1, or score like in the 92nd minute 2-1, but it's going to be over in 2 seconds anyway. Yeah. But this time it's more like, fucking hell, now they got like 20 minutes to go at us trying to get a draw here, and we will just have to try to hold on and fight for it, trying to kill it anyway with a 3-1 goal. But we could tell that we were tired. So if they score another goal to 2-2, we probably only will have 5 minutes, not even that, to try to win it. And that's where you could possibly lose titles, because that's that's games that will be, you will look at it, like I said, with the derby, that's 1 point gained in the way that ended. But playing home against Wolves, it's a must win. You need to win those kind of games, especially playing Villa, Man City away, and then Newcastle coming to Anfield after that. So you need those kind of wins. And you mentioned Endo there as well, and I when I looked Bradley playing, I was so happy that he came in to be our defensive minded right back instead of Trent, without taking anything away from Trent. But in my opinion, I love Trent as a player, but sometimes he's a little bit sloppy, a little bit naive in the way that he defends, and he's not energized in the same way as Bradley is. So I would say that he comes in and put tackles in and goes in, fight in a defensive position, and he won like I think it turned into be a goal kick at the end where they could have won a corner, but he stood his ground, he just fought it and won a goal kick for us. The same way the Ender did, like you said, he won a free kick at the end, down when Robbo was just passed very easily by their player. because he was probably 2 seconds too late, probably because of being tired as well. But Endo comes in, put his body into it, fights for it, get the free kick, and that's the performances from players you need in these types of games, because otherwise they could actually go on and score. Because I think we were all right defensively, obviously, because we didn't concede, but there were moments where we were like, fucking hell, we got away with one there. And obviously taking off Konate, not to risk a yellow card and a second yellow card and a red card on that, and being suspended for games to come. I think that was clever, because obviously we were in a 2-0 lead then. So I think that was clever. But then I guess, Kwanzaa comes in, show that he's got the quality. Even though they score, he's also the man on, securing us for a situation in our penalty area where they easily could have scored, where he just tracks back and throws in a great tackle. So it's all those little situations that wins the game. And I think to come out of this game on the winning side with that performance in the second half, like you said, didn't have a shot on target. They were not us, but we just managed to see it through and win it. Hopefully, from the derby being mentally drained and physically drained, this type of game will instead boost the confidence of being able to fight games out when we go into Villa. So, is there anything you want to add about the Wolves game, or should we move on to playing Villa tomorrow?
Just Jota. Why Jota goes down, I don't know. Like he doesn't get. It looks like obviously the penalty gets given, so it looks like he gets touched, but then you look back, he doesn't. And why he just doesn't stay on his feet? Just put that in the bottom corner, like we know Jota can do. 3-0, kill the game, bring off the big guns, and you'd have the context that you're looking at the Villa game. You look at it. Obviously, we still win that game, so it's not too bad, but. If you win it like 3-0, 3-1, it's just a bit more confidence in the legs, and the minds going into Villa, and obviously, like you said, City and then Newcastle. Like there's loads of games coming up where we're going to need to be, scoring them chances. Like you can't be doing that in the box when you're 2-0 up. I mean, especially if it was 0-0 and did that, fucking hell, imagine how much stick you'd be getting. But when you're at 2-0 and just put it in the back of the net, like the old quote, just put it in the back of the net and we'll discuss the options later.
Yeah,
the old Shankly quote. But yeah, that pissed me off. But like I said, Endo did really well, and Bradley did, and Quanta did as well, coming in and giving us some defensive security. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some. Obviously, we're going to talk about Villa in a sec, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some changes. But I just wanted to throw out another stat, because I thought it was just that shows or highlights just how good Slot is. And Slot is now just the second Premier League manager to win 60 plus points in his first 25 matches in the Premier League. Only Jose Mourinho did better, and he got 64 points in his first 25. So again, like I get that shows just how impressive he is. I mean, I would have liked to have beat Jose Mourinho, because I think only 4 points off if we would have beat Everton, and if we would have beat Newcastle or Man United, we would have beat that record. But yeah, that's just being perfectionist and picky and all that. I'm sure Slot would have liked to have beat it as well, but like first season in the league and the way that we're playing and stuff, and yeah, maybe going through like a little sticky period or whatever you want to call it. The fact that we've got the win, got the draw against Everton, got the win over Wolves, and then going into Villa, looking ahead to putting that 7-point lead to 10 points, which again, psychologically, it's these things are all massive in footy. Like if Arsenal go into their next game and it's like, fucking hell, we've got a game in hand, but we're 10 points clear. We're 10 points behind them. Like we've got to make up 10 points. It seems like loads more than 7, if you know what I mean. Like in terms of like them fighting for everything, and obviously the injuries they've got and stuff like that. And yeah, just we need to go and do our job tomorrow, and hopefully that like psychologically takes a little bit of toll on them and going into their game and stuff. But yeah, I was just made up we won the game. I was like fucking pulling my hair out, whatever I've got left of it. But I knew like getting that win and going into Villa was fucking massive.
Yeah, and you mentioned Slot there, and the record breaking in one way. It's tremendous that he in his first season with us performs like this. And yes, we know that Jurgen Klopp left new built Liverpool, because obviously he reinvited the whole midfield the summer before he left and everything. So we got McAllister, Gravenberch, Soboslai, Endo coming in, new legs and all that. So obviously Slot took over a great team and in great shape and everything, but you still need to do the job. You still need to implement your style of play, even if it doesn't differ that much from Jurgen Klopp, but just maybe more the active resting throughout games. Like I'm always say, that they more a little bit slow, more patient, take it easy, trying to just rest until they find the right moment to really speed it up. But we have to. I think supporters in general, when we talk about, Arsenal now, obviously only 7 points behind us, and doing well as well in terms of all their injuries and stuff. But we can't forget, and you can never use that as an excuse. But I think it's important to have a wider perspective on things when it comes to Arteta. Obviously built the Arsenal team for 5-6 years now, something like that, 5 years maybe, and he had the opportunity to obviously use money to buy players that will suit his style of play. He had some coming up from their youth teams like Saka and other players, and put a great team together. You can't say anything about that, but that's the thing with us. We're doing this great the first season on the Slot, and we have a great team, but just imagine what he can do going forward when he gets the players that he thinks that he needs into this team, or who can do better and help us to develop and become even better and all that kind of stuff. So sometimes we just need to sit back and relax and enjoy this ride, because no one, not even us, would think that we were actually going for the title at this stage of the season. But we are, so let's enjoy it and let's go for it. So next up is Villa at Villa Park. Obviously, it's a tough game. Sometimes we go there and I think it feels like we batter them, but I don't know if that's images of me being a younger myself, seeing fucking Gerrard scoring great goals and stuff, or because I never remember like the last game or the last 2-3 games that we play there, to be honest, because that's how my mind works. But it feels like a game that can be quite open. Sometimes they can just go on and be brilliant, score goals. Sometimes you look at them and they're not that good. Obviously, with the Champions League campaign coming into their way of playing and their legs as well, there's something that they're usually not doing throughout the season. We're more used to it, but at the same time, it's at their ground. It's great atmosphere there. I have been there a couple of times. I think it could be a great place if it goes their way. At the same time, I feel nervous, but I'm just thinking, we got City and Newcastle afterwards. This is a game where we could possibly get something out of it. So what is your feelings ahead of the game now in this very moment?
Yeah, I think I'm the same, in terms of memory. Like I always remember, like my memory is better between 90s and the noughties rather than the last 5 games. But I remember last year it was 3-3, sorry, at their place, and they got 2 in the last, I think it was the last 5 minutes with John Duran, who obviously isn't there anymore, which is good. And that was, again, you 3-1 up, and we threw that one away a little bit in a way, because you've got a 2-goal lead and you give it away in the last 5 minutes, and when you're challenging for titles and all that, that's a bit unforgivable, to be honest. So, and again, like you said, amazing atmosphere there, really talented manager, really good players. Rashford being there as well annoys me a little bit, because you just know he's going to be absolutely fired up, and he's going to be getting text off all the United lads saying, "Come on, lad, fucking make sure you score," and all that, just to derail them and all that stuff. So him there is an extra element for them, because he's going to work his fucking arse off, isn't he, against us? So that's something we need to be looking out for. But I'm sure, I know Slot got asked about it before, and he was saying he knows how good he is. So we're going to have to be wary of that, and obviously Kanate is going to have to be on his best form to kind of cover that left channel, to cover that pace and that the energy that he brings down there. But yeah, I think, again, you're in a stage of the season where every game now, it could be any team away. It could be literally Leicester or Ipswich or whatever. If we were going to Leicester or Ipswich tomorrow away, I'd still be like, oh, fucking hell, it's going to be difficult this. Do you know what I mean? It could be any of them, and I'd still be like, fucking hell, I'm excited, but I'm scared about if they park the bus and X, Y, and Z, and if we can't creatively get over the line with the players we've got and stuff. But they're currently 9th in the league. Just having a quick look now. They've kind of dropped off a little bit in terms of in terms of that, because I remember like start of the season they were doing really well, but like in terms of Champions League as well, they finished top 8 as well, I think, didn't they? So they've been absolutely smashing it, to be fair. But like last couple of results, just having a quick look here. 1-1 with Ipswich. They beat Spurs. They got beat by Wolves. They drew with West Ham. They drew with Arsenal. They beat Everton. So they've bit indifferent, really, considering how good they are and how many good players they've got. I think losing Moran I think that's massive for them, because I think as a bench option, I guess, and if they don't start Rashford and Rashford becomes the new Moran in a way, like the new super sub for them, then obviously it's still very good. But I think them losing him is a big plus for us. But like I said, Rashford's going to be fucking chomping at the bit and need to get on the field and play against us. But you've just got to back us. You've got to back us the way that we've been playing. You don't expect it to be similar to last year, where we threw away a 2-goal lead in the last 5 minutes. Hopefully not, anyway. And I think Slaughter again today, like he understood that people were maybe questioning like the energy and maybe people being tired, and he kind of said, I only kind of thought that for about 2 people, and I imagine that's probably Macher. I think Macher was definitely one of them that he maybe thought was a bit tired. Robbo was a bit, you mentioned it as well before, a bit late to challenges and stuff, but it was 2 or 3 or 4 times he did it. And when you do that, you need to either win the ball or take the man, and because once you're out of that space and you run 100 miles an hour, the space in behind is too much, and then Van Dijk has to come over, Kanate has to shuffle over, and it's just a bit of a mess. You either stay in your position or make sure you win the ball, or man, you've got to at least stop the play if you're going to do that. So maybe we see Tsimikas come in there. I don't know whether he'll put Jones in for McAllister to give him a little break. I mean, the thing is, we've got loads of options, especially with like Jota being back and Nunes back in there, and we've obviously got Chiesa and Elia. There's still plenty of options in there, but I imagine we'd probably only see maybe 2 changes. I think I'd probably put Macher on the bench. See, I don't really like saying that because Macher's so key to what we do, but I just feel like giving him a little bit of a break, especially going into, you don't want to keep thinking about the next game, but like going into Man City, we're going to need Alexis McAllister in that Man City game 100%. So maybe this is one where you fight energy with energy, and you put Jones in there and you put Tsimikas in there, and rely on his fighting spirit and his willingness to fly into tackles and all that. And then I think another difficult one is Trent, because especially if they start Rashford, I'm more inclined to say I'd like to see Bradley start, because we want that defensive, that willingness to fight and throw tackles in, and we know Bradley's quick. And I think Bradley and Kanate as a defensive duo is much stronger than Trent and Kanate as a defensive duo. Obviously, we know how good Kanate is. He's the best in the world at like defending the channels, but as a duo, I'd much prefer Bradley and Kanate. But then you might just go Trent and bring Bradley on towards the end to hopefully shore up a lead. Yeah. So there's different ways of looking at it, but I think it's going to be interesting either way.
It is a difficult one because I don't know the whole picture of obviously how the status is for their players in all over, but I think with the players like Tielemans and John McGinn and stuff in midfield, it's always a fight. And Tielemans obviously great on the ball, but McGinn, we know that he's a bit of an animal in the center of the park. So we obviously need the bodies as well. But I agree with you. With Maka looked tired, and rightly so, playing so many games and always running loads as well. That will happen. You will have to find moments to rest the legs for players as well. And this might be one where you said you might throw Curtis in. I'm just thinking as well, like when you're talking about Trent, because, if they play, if they would play Rashford, or if they would play, what's his name, Jacob Ramsey, or the new guy, isn't it, like Marlon from Dortmund, wasn't it? They bought him. They're quick players. If they switch sides or how they will ever play, but it's just like, I will go back to what I said about Conor Bradley coming in, being very energetic and defensively very clever. You need those kind of, those kind of performances from players in games like this, because you can't be, and again, this is maybe my only criticism to Trent is that I think sometimes he doesn't do the job good enough in terms of fighting, and he's one of them who you want him to do that kind of job because he's again the local lad, played through the systems and came up and became this big star. You want it to be more Gerrard like, more Carragher like, if you like, because he can always say Gerrard was his great hero growing up and stuff, and he's got different qualities to him, but why don't you put in the same kind of fighting spirit? Because that's sometimes that is something that annoys me that much because it happens too many times. I don't know if I've been thinking about it throughout his career during the Klopp era, because everyone was just electric through those years. If it shines through more now because of we playing in a different way, I don't know. It's just I'm thinking at this stage during the season where we're leading and every game is so important to keep the gap to Arsenal and to make sure we're in a good position. You need to fight as well. You could be quality and you can lead a game 2-0 like we did against Wolves. But then if you do concede one and the belief starts to go into them and we become a little bit disbelieved, if you like, and start to be a little bit nervous, then you can see a game through if you do fight like that. That's my main thing. I think Wolves would have had a more chance to score a second goal if Trent was on the pitch and not Conor Bradley. And that's my thinking going into this game away against Aston Villa. That could be more of a fight. And then you have to think about that going into the City game. But that's somewhere where I think maybe Trent could be suited better because of the way the City plays. You know what I mean? So it is a difficult one. You need to change a bit to let players have a rest and all that kind of stuff. But I'm a little bit worried if they play Trent. I'd rather probably play Conor Bradley this game and then save Trent from a City and use his right foot for them great passes into areas where we can hurt them. So yeah,
I think it is a difficult one because you either go like Bradley for 60 and Trent for 30. I think that's kind of going to be the way going. Especially in the next few games where Trent's. The only thing I sympathise with Trent is he just came back from injury, but. Again, Trent is a luxury player in a way, and I think he always has been that. He's a right back, but he is like a midfielder in what he does. We all know how good he is on the ball. But in the Wolves game, if you're not gonna be yourself, or you haven't got like the energy and the match fitness or whatever to run back full speed and to put tackles in, don't lose the ball. Like I think that's one of the things. Like, and I know it's hard for Trent because he wants to play them balls that are like 70% on, so 30% of the time they might not come off and. The ball can be given away, but there was a couple against Wolves where like he plays it back to Andersson. I think it's the first half, like left-footed, and he like bobbles it at him, and then Andersson has to clear it. It goes out for a corner, and you're like, that was away, like so unnecessary. Like that, just literally, like just play a little ball along the floor to him. You can take a touch, smash it upfield, or you can play over it to Van Dijk or to Robbo or whatever. Just recycle play, just little bits like that. Where there was another one where he plays it in field and. They nick it off Quansah, I think, or Quansah tries to get it and they nick it off him. But like we're getting put into difficult positions just from passes where he's just like not thinking clearly. I don't know, and people are obviously then saying, "Is his mind in Madrid?" and like all that stuff that comes out of it because that's just inevitable because of where we are and the situation still being what it is. But if you're gonna like me telling Trent how to play footy is funny, but I would be more like safe. I would try and be more. If I knew I wasn't completely there, I'd be more safe with the ball. I'd be like, right, if we're keeping a lead, just keep it simple. Play a little one down the line into the corners at least, where Salah can fight for it. But if you lose it there, it's not the end of the world. If you're playing like a square ball 15 yards inside, and there's a few players around the player. It could go very badly wrong. You just need to have that like little bit of being switched on to stuff like that, which again I don't think he showed very much in the Wolves game. But then if you put him into the Villa game, you can like Slot can say to him like, and I know for a fact he'll be highlighting the stuff that he did wrong because that's something that he does every game. Those little things that he's done can maybe be ironed out a little bit, and he can get his match fitness back a bit more. He can play a little bit more, obviously maybe have a hand in a goal or score a goal, hopefully. So there's things like that where he's in a way too good to be a bench player. Yeah. But then you want the defensive security from Bradley, especially if Rashford starts, which I expect him to. So I think it's a difficult one, but either way, we can slot like one of the best in the world at like in-game changes. So if we need to change it, or whatever, like half time, if Trent's having a bad one, just pull him and put Bradley on. Or I don't know. I think it's a difficult one to choose, but I think we've got the best fella in charge to be making those decisions and knowing, like, to kind of stifle our weaknesses, but also to get the best out of because we need to make sure that the front three are getting provided for. That's another thing. Like, and we know Bradley's still good at that, but those balls in behind for Salah or for Nunes or Jota or whoever, like the balls in behind, like it's fucking lovely stuff for them, because you can just take one touch and have a shot, or they're in the penalty area and he can't be touched. So there's all those things as well to think about, where you need to hopefully get an early goal in a game like this as well. So having Trent in, it maximises that a little bit more. So
it is difficult, because I think it's a stage of the season where we are at the moment, and like we mentioned already so many times, that you're afraid that you get a little bit tired for a longer period of time if you don't, using them in the right way, if you like. But you mentioned Slot being one of the best doing that. But I think Conor Brad obviously offers more of an energy type of player, and also the way that he gives Salah an option to play it through, when he comes running down goes in more central and running down and actually tears the defenses apart when he runs into behind. That makes it a situation for Salah where he can have the option to play the ball into Conor Bradley's running path in behind, or trying to go on the on the inside but past his plays, because obviously Bradley drags the play with him. I don't think Trent offers the same way, but then obviously he goes in more central and have his passes into areas where it's really dangerous, or he switch plays really great with his passes as well. So it's one of them who how Slot want to use them in this kind of game, and try and see who starts and see what way it works. And if it doesn't work, then he can make the change then. So, but if we predict the starting lineup, would you say that you start Trent and you see how it goes then, and then after that you see if you might have to bring Conor Bradley on? Because I think it will be Tsimikas, Van Dijk, Konate, and possibly Trent, even though I would like Bradley to start. And then in midfield, like you said, we need Dominic Szoboszlai, because he's just a fucking engine. I think Gravenberch, even though he didn't have a great game against Wolves, with a bit of, that's probably something that creeps into it as well. But, that's probably one of his worst performances for us this season. He's been absolutely brilliant. So you can't really say anything else that, he will start, because we will need him. But then the question then, like you said, if McAllister goes off onto the bench thinking about Man City, and then Jones comes in with fresh legs, Gakpo is out, so Diaz to the left again, Jota in the middle and Salah to the right, and Nunez off the bench, I guess, if we need him then.
Yeah, I think so. I think if you look at the Wolves lineup, I think in terms of that, the only changes would be, I think, Robbo off for Tsimikas, and then maybe Macher off for Jones, and then you'd ask Jones and Gravenberch to just, again, like you said before, like John McGinn, he's going to be running everywhere, so you want to at least just fight fire with that, and with someone who's maybe a bit fresher in terms of like not played loads of games recently and stuff. But yeah, Gravenberch as well, maybe didn't have the best game, but again, we need him in there to put out those fires that he's so good at. But again, he probably does need the rest at some stage as well himself. So, difficult decisions. But I think if you look at that lineup and you put Robbo, you put Tsimikas in, you put Jones in, it's still quality all over the field, where you can bring on Nunes towards the end, you can bring Bradley on, you can bring Endo on, you can bring Robbo on towards the end if you need a bit more energy, like this Chiesa on there who didn't get on.
He never gets on.
He never gets on. He never got on against Wolves. But yeah, there's players in there that we can call upon when, and at this stage of the season, you need some like little one or two changes each game. Just keeps them players fresh that you need to rely on. So I think maybe resting Robbo and resting Macher might be an option, but he might just fuck it and go, right, lads, didn't have the best game against Wolves, go out again, exact same 11, and then we'll make changes in game. That could also be what he does, and says to them, gives them the option, throws down the gauntlet, and says, like, try and get this game won, and then we'll bring on Nunes, and we'll bring off Macher, and we'll bring off whoever else, Trent, towards the end, and give them a rest ahead of the City one, which is going to be absolutely massive, with them looking like they've got a bit more form now, with the checkbook manager Pep buying more players and throwing them in. So yeah, The thing is, I'm excited. I think that's the thing. People keep like, I see people on like Twitter and stuff saying like, "Oh, look at this like next 3 games. I'm dreading it." I'm like, I am, but like it's dreaded excitement. I'm scared, but I think we all are. It's just nervousness because of what we've dealt with in the past. But it's excitement to see what we do. Like this is the first iteration of a slot side, and we're doing amazingly well. So let's just fucking crack on. Let's just keep winning games. Let's just keep going and see where we get on, because there is a league title to be won, and we need to be. If that's not if that's not your fuel, then I don't know. There's nothing else you can give them. Like the league title is the fuel for everyone. So you need to just go. You need to be going and winning these games if you want to win it. So go and do it.
Yeah, I totally agree, and that's this is why we're in it anyway. We will always follow Liverpool, but we're in the top fight for the title. That's more obviously exciting than we were 5th or 6th or 7th trying to get into Europe and Champions League football. It's always going to be exciting, and we're always going to support them and follow them. That's not any difference. But I think you have to embrace these kind of moments and actually look at it. That's something that you are very privileged to do, because not many teams are actually in those positions that many times. You can look at the likes of Manchester United now and the way they perform. You can look at Tottenham as never really in the consideration of winning a title, and other teams that would never be at the top. If things can happen, obviously, but sometimes instead of being moaning about things, complaining about things, and yes, we can be nervous, and yes, we can see the legs are going a little bit, we are tired, it's the stage of the season, but at the same time, just enjoy it at this moment and embrace it, because we could have been, Slot could have come in and we could have been now with 8th or 7th, and we'd be just like, next season then, it's his first season, blah, blah, blah. But now we're in this position, just fucking enjoy it and see where it goes. So score predictions then, what do you think tomorrow, Villa?
What did I say? I think I said it in the group chat, didn't I? Did I go for 2-1, I think?
I haven't seen. I haven't checked.
Yeah, 2-1, I think I went for close 2-1.
All right. I'm going to do it easy for Paul. 3-1 Liverpool.
Just copy and paste. Just copy and paste for Paul.
I can't be bothered anymore. I'm just go 3-1, 3-1, 3-1. Because at some point, hopefully, it will just be 3-1, and that will be.
I just want to clarify as well, because I feel like we do every week. We say, like Paul. We mentioned Paul and the WhatsApp group and all that, but we've got a WhatsApp group for obviously people that are associate with the pod and people that listen and watch and all that stuff, and they're all good lads and girls. So if you wanted to join it, just let us know on socials or whatever if you wanted to join the group, because it is a good little bunch in there, especially on match days. It goes crazy in there. But that's kind of what we're talking about. And there's a WhatsApp group for just chatting, and there's a WhatsApp prediction group. So that's kind of where Paul's the star of the show with giving out the trophies and all that. So you get a little trophy if you win. So if you want to join, even if for next season or whatever, just give us a shout.
It's gone so far now that if I haven't sent my score prediction in, people just say, just put 3-1 down.
Just put 3-1. Yeah.
So that's where I also go, let's go for it.
Yeah, I might as well just, when I put mine in, I'll go, right, I'll just say 2-1, and then here's Kristian's 3-1. Or when he does the new spreadsheet, just literally just copy yours over. Just copy and paste forever.
Yeah. Well, anyway, 2-1, 3-1, I don't care. 1-0 Liverpool, I don't care. 3 points is what matters. Yes, so please. Hopefully we can go to Villa Park on Wednesday evening and win. It will be a tough one. It will be tough games coming up. But like I said, we're here for it. We're living, being top of the table. Just enjoy it and embrace it. And I think with that, we're out of here. And we will be back as soon as we can, talking about the Villa game. Talk about the games to come. Obviously, City, Newcastle. There's loads of games coming up. We've got a cup final coming up in a couple of weeks as well, like you mentioned before. So it will be hopefully many shows, but also many joys where we get the 3 points and get over the line. It's going to be nervous, but I'm going to enjoy it as much as I can. But thank you for listening, and thank you for following on social media. Watch out watch the YouTube channel as well, because Mick doing great things there, and I think most shows will be put there as well. But you're doing the pod and a pint with guests that from Liverpool locally, so great shows as well. So haven't you seen them? Watch them out. Until next time, take care and up the Reds.
Nice one.
I'm Jamie Carragher, and you are listening to the Copite Podcast.